Over the last 8 to 9 months, the Staffords have had multiple incidents where they have thrown slights not only towards the Lions, but also towards the Lions fans. And today's episode, Matthew Stafford once again just stabbed the Lions in the back, and we're going to talk about it. So stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lion.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. My friends, this is one of those episodes where it's kind of hard to talk about because of the nature of what we're talking about and who we're talking about. Now, I know for some people this is probably something they're not aware of because of the fact that Lions fans right now have been really centered. They've been really paying attention to injury news on what's going on with Jahmyr Gibbs, what's going on with Ray Straw, what's going on with Aleem McNeil. We got some good news yesterday that the injury that Terry and Arnold got was not all that serious, so we're still waiting on news for the other 3. But this was something that I saw and almost nobody was talking about. And I was like, if it wasn't for the injury news and the injury focus that everybody had right now and the fixation on that, this would definitely be something that would be talked about. Because, I'm sorry, when it comes to the Staffords, they are probably one of the most recognizable, people in the city of Detroit. And they're one of the most recognized, Stafford's one of the most recognized Lions players ever. But Stafford and his wife, ever since the playoff loss in, January to the Lions at home, it just seems like there has been a whole slew of things that have continued to come out where more drama and more negative crap has continued to flow in regards to their emotions, their feelings, their, whatever in regards to the Detroit Lions and especially towards the fans. And we're going to talk about some of those things that have already happened, but there's a new one that literally just happened. Now, what am I talking about? What I'm talking about specifically is that Stafford, in a recent interview, he was on the TV show Pardon My Take, and Stafford was asked a question on whether or not he rooted for his former team, the Detroit Lions, obviously, once we had beat his team that he's on now, the Los Angeles Rams, in the playoffs last year. And I'm going to say this right now. There's a certain level of maturity, there is a certain level of, I would say, expectation when you're in a kind of environment like this. And that's why the answer that Stafford gave was, I'm going to admit, was shockingly juvenile. Because this is exactly what Stafford said. He said, no, I am not rooting for anyone at that point. I have a couple of teammates, a couple of ex-teammates that I wanted to see play well, and they did. But at that point, I wished everybody could lose. Okay. Let's understand something here. I get Stafford as a competitor would say that because obviously if you're a true competitor, you do not like losing. That's just the nature of any competitor. You want to win all the time. But the problem I'm having with this statement is that Stafford is very short on memory. He's very short on appreciation. He's very short on being grateful. Because here's why. When I heard this, as a fan, I was both shocked and deeply insulted for a bevy of reasons. And there were multiple reasons that instantly came to mind when I heard this. Because it's like, okay, you were asked if you were going to root for the Lions on their way to the Super Bowl. The first thing you said is, no, I'm not rooting for anyone, including your former team, but that you wish everybody else could lose because it's not you that's out there. Okay, again, as a competitor, I get that. But as a normal human being, that's being rather petty. That's being rather childish. And here's the reason why I can state that and all the other things I'm stating about Stafford being ungrateful, unappreciative, and everything else. Let's understand something here. Stafford said he was not going to root for the Lions. But the reason why this is such a problem for me is that did Stafford forget about all the support that the Lions fandom gave him when he and the Rams were going to the Super Bowl in 2021? And it was so much of a support network. It was so much freaking nonsensical support that we had some fan, some company, whatever the thunder it was, that they decided to make those god-awful freaking Detroit Rams BS shirts. Like, I'm sorry, but I remember that so distinctly because it was absolutely horrific. It was like, we're the Detroit Lions. We are not the Detroit Rams. We are not the Los Angeles Lions. We are the Detroit Lions. But yet we have a company here in Detroit that is obviously ran by Lions fans, and they decided that they were going to merge the two together and call us Detroit Rams fans because we had so many Lions fans that were showing so much love and support for the Rams because of Stafford, so that way he could go and win his first Super Bowl. And it's like, that is not something that any other fan base I can say has ever done. Not for an ex-player. When you literally have a fan base that literally goes out and buys shirts that combines two NFL logos together and becomes pseudo Rams fans for a month because their ex-quarterback is getting ready to go and potentially win a Super Bowl, no other fan base in the entirety of the NFL that I can think of has ever done that. That is a huge freaking compliment. That is a huge freaking, thing that Stafford can say that for, hey, a whole month I had two fan bases that were at my back that were cheering me on to win a Super Bowl. No other fan base does that. So for the fact that Stafford completely forgot about that when he made that comment, that's absolutely insulting because that to me is like, okay, you have a very short memory because it's not like that happened all that long ago. We're talking 2021, folks. That's 3 years ago. And it's like, that is like barely in the rear view mirror. So that's the first thing that bugged me about that situation, that bugged me about that quote. Here's the second thing that bugged me about this quote. Not only was Stafford childish and ungrateful with the quote that he had, he's also a hypocrite. And here's the reason why I can say Stafford's a hypocrite. Because, again, I have a pretty damn good memory. As a historical major, I have to. But also as a historical major, I keep receipts. Let's go back, shall we? Go back to after Stafford won the Super Bowl with the Rams. Stafford is at like this little post-press conference, this little like table, and he's talking to some analysts, talking to some commentators, whatever. And Stafford was asked by one commentator if he could feel the love from the Detroit Lions fans over the entire month leading up to the Super Bowl. So all the playoff games, everything, the Super Bowl, whatever. Stafford said this, and I'm going to have to break this up into two quotes so that way I can actually, talk about the whole broad spectrum of it, because it's a long quote, but boy, is it ever like hypocritical from Stafford. Let's hear what he had to say. Stafford in the first part said, yeah, I really could. Again, love from the Detroit Lions fans. It was amazing. Like you said, there's no reason for them to cheer for me anymore. And the fact that they did was just a true testament to who they are as people and who they are as fans. So Stafford literally right there said, there's no reason for them to cheer me anymore. They are cheering for me out of just the, sheer love of the game and also because they have so much respect and want me to win. And that's a true testament to who they are as people and as fans. So in essence, what he's trying to say there is that, hey, you know what? They did this of their own volition. They're just amazing people and amazing fans, even though it was not something they had to do. Okay. Let's move into the second part of this quote. He then said, to have that support all the way across the country, here playing in this game, means the world to me and my wife and my family. They helped us through a bunch of tough times and are a huge reason I'm sitting here today. Okay, so again, you acknowledge the fact that you got that support. You acknowledge the fact that everyone in your family knew and felt that support, and at the very tail end of it, you acknowledge that we were a big reason as to why you were able to sit and acknowledge and have the ability to win that Super Bowl. So, let me get this straight, Stafford. Let me get this straight. You, at the end of the Super Bowl, were like, yeah, I could feel the love of the Lions fans. It was awesome. It was great. And you know what? They were a huge, huge reason why I was able to win the Super Bowl, get to this point, blah, 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 blah. They're amazing people. They're a true testament, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you could feel all our love. You could feel all our support in 2021 as you won a Super Bowl. But you couldn't be bothered to cheer our team on to do the same for us after we beat you in a playoff game. Y'all now starting to understand why I'm saying this is childish? Y'all starting to get the picture here? Because it's like, okay, dude, I get it. You lost to us in a playoff game. But that's simply no excuse to be this damn petulant. But again, that's only the first of a couple of reasons. There's another reason that I got here. Again, we're talking about Matthew Stafford. So if we're going to talk about Stafford, you damn well know we're going to talk about Jared Goff. And the reason I'm going to talk about Jared Goff is because of the sheer contrast that Jared Goff had when faced with this situation versus, Matthew Stafford. Because again, let's think about this. I'm just going to say this right now. Jared Goff is a better Lions quarterback than Stafford ever was. Forget anything else. The fact of the matter is, Goff has done more. Goff has accomplished more. Goff has done just absolutely amazing with what he had to start with. And the thing of the matter is that Goff's attitude when he got here and then had to watch his former team immediately go and win the Super Bowl after he was traded. Imagine that. That is like a gut punch from hell. And Goff not only had to deal with that, but he also had to go through one of his worst seasons as a professional, and he had to deal with a fan base that was still so much in love with Stafford that they absolutely detested him. And think about this. Goff afterwards spoke about his feelings about, when his teammates, his former team won the Super Bowl, and this is what Goff said. He said, "No bitterness. I am happy for my former teammates and coaches. But as a competitor, of course, I want to win one too." Okay, let's understand what's going on there. First and foremost, Goff is saying, I wasn't bitter. I'm happy for the former teams, former coaches, and the whole thing. But he's also honest. He's like, hey, as a competitor, I obviously want to win one too, which that's the same for anybody. At least if, like I said, you're a true competitor. But the point of the matter is, let me understand something here, because I know someone's going to probably want to bring this up. Oh, well, David, he could have been lying. He could have just been putting that on to save face. Okay, sure, maybe he could have been. But here's the difference. At least Goff was, reasonable. At least Goff was sensitive enough to say, hey, you know what? Even if I may not feel that way, I'm not going to throw a slight. I'm not going to be rude. I'm not going to be some sort of arrogant, jerk. That's the stark difference between Goff's response and Stafford's response. And here's the thing, folks. Here's what makes this truly worse for Stafford. Stafford, when he made the response he did, oh, that's right, Stafford had already won a Super Bowl. He had already achieved the ultimate goal of any player, which is to win a Super Bowl. Oh, and by the way, he'd already been with the Rams for 3 years. Whereas Goff, on the other hand, when he had to go through all this nonsense, oh, that's right, it was immediately after he got traded. So the wounds were much more fresh for Goff. They were much more open, and he had to deal with all that nonsense right off the bat. Whereas with Stafford, oh, he got to enjoy the milk and honey. He got to enjoy the accolades. He got to enjoy all the great things about it. And then now we come 3 years later, and now we're into this. It's not the same. Again, you're starting to pick up on the picture I'm trying to draw here about how damn childish Stafford is acting with this whole nonsense of, oh, well, I'm just not going to root for anybody because I'm not playing. Okay, again, I understand the competitor in you, but that's being childish. Pure, plain, and simple. But let's think about this last point here. The point of the matter is that Stafford has done this before. Like I said at the very beginning of this episode, this is not the first time that Stafford or his wife has thrown slights against the Lions fans. Again, if you recall, Kelly Stafford had a problem with some Lions fans because she thought they were booing her kids. Which again, it's like, that's a silly freaking argument. Even if you could again say that a couple of Lions fans did that. In that playoff game, there was 67,000 people in that entire stadium. There is no way, Kelly, you could say that all 67,000 fans were booing your kids. Absolutely no chance in hell. And furthermore, to try and bring your kids into this when, what was it? I think maybe one of them, maybe two of them were barely, I think 1 or 2 years old, and the other one I don't think had been born yet. That has no bearing on the whole situation with you and Matthew getting traded out of Detroit. So again, I don't understand where that was coming from. But again, that was a whole big to-do after the whole playoff game. But again, also after that playoff game, again, do y'all remember what Stafford said? Because again, right after the playoff game, Stafford was asked about if he was happy that the Lions had won their first playoff game in 30 plus years. And again, I understand you just lost the playoff game. And I understand, you know what, as a competitor, you don't like to lose. But it's like, dude, your former team, the team that has not won a playoff game in 30 freaking years, the team that, again, showed you all that love, all that support, all that nonsense back 2-3 years ago when you were going towards the Super Bowl, the only thing Stafford said was he was only happy for the players. That was it. Again, wasn't happy for the fans, wasn't happy for the freaking organization, had no love, no appreciation for either of those. Despite the fact that, like I said, the fans freaking traveled, loved, and supported him back in 2021 more than any other fan base has ever done virtually in the entirety of NFL history. And the same organization that with such grace and such tact made sure that he was put in the best possible chance to succeed to win said Super Bowl. The Lions didn't have to be absolutely graceful. They didn't have to be nice and make sure that Stafford went to a team that he wanted to where he could win. The Lions could have traded him anywhere they wanted to so long as the other team was willing to take the trade. But the point of the matter is the Lions are like, we're going to do the best we can to do right by you, Stafford, because that's what a good organization does. That's what a mature organization does. That is why when Stafford made the comments that he did, that's why I'm saying he's being childish. He's being an ungrateful individual. Because it's like, listen, competitor or not, this is a team that you better than anybody else knows is dying, literally starving for a Super Bowl. And you could not be bothered to root for the team that you spent 12 years with because you lost in a playoff game. Even though you'd already won a Super Bowl, you couldn't be bothered to root us on. Because if I'm not playing, then you know what? Screw it. I don't want to support anybody. Even though, like I said, back when you won your Super Bowl, we went 3-13-1. We had nothing else to look forward to, but yet you had a whole damn fan base that was at your back that decided to make the Detroit Rams shirts and literally showed you nothing but love and support. But you couldn't be bothered to root for us because I'm not playing, so I'm not invested. Sorry, Stafford. That is pure unacceptable because that is childish. That is immature as hell. And I have no qualms about saying that because it's the damn truth. So you know what? I know some Lions fan out there that's a true Stafford fan is probably going to absolutely light my ass up in the comments section. And I wouldn't be surprised if I probably lose subscribers for this episode because of the fact that I'm going after Stafford for being this way. But the point of the matter is like I've said before, as a podcaster, I have never ever once shied away from telling the truth. And I have never once ever shied away from telling it like it is. And this is telling it like it is. When I've pointed out how other people have acted, supported, and put love on Stafford, but yet for one singular moment, after all the love and support he's gotten over the last 3 years from our fan base, he couldn't be bothered to do the same for us for one singular moment? Sorry, that doesn't fly with me, and it will never fly with me. Don't get me wrong. I'm still appreciative for Stafford for all the things he did for us. I'm still appreciative for all the hard work, all of, the injuries he went through for us. But this kind of behavior is not acceptable. You need to do better. But anyway, I'm going to end the episode. So with that having been said, I want to say thank you all for watching in another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode or any other content I've pushed out before. Also want to encourage y'all, please, like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you not had a chance to do so, again, want to highly encourage y'all to subscribe, but I also want to encourage y'all, make sure you hit that bell notification icon as well, so that way you guys never miss any more content I push out. Also want to encourage y'all, please, make sure you share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. The more we can share it, the greater the channel grows and spreads, and the greater we're able to get more people in to watch the content. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed the content, though I'm pretty sure some people aren't. I hope you all are having a great day. Hope you all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.